I'm Dean Newland, and welcome to Leadovation. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. This podcast is dedicated to the art and science of innovative leadership. Through insightful interviews with industry experts, I bring you cutting-edge strategies and experiences of innovative leadership, helping you think differently, act strategically, and achieve remarkable results. Join me as I provide insights and tools that empower you to make smarter decisions, forge meaningful relationships. Welcome to Leadovation. Welcome to our renamed podcast, Leadovation. While intuition will continue to be a key superpower we discuss, we decided to include 3 elements our listeners have been asking for that they want to be inspired around some practical advice in one of 3 different things: leadership, i.e. being a leader of one's own life and a leader of others, teams, and companies. 2, innovation, because if we aren't learning faster than our competition, we will fall behind. And 3, what I call intentional healthy presence. In a world where the speed of change is the slowest it will be for the rest of our lives, and our brains and nervous systems simply cannot keep up, nor are designed to absorb and react to this speed of change, we need to intentionally find ways to be healthy and present so that the journey to success is as important as the destination. My next guest on my podcast today is a wonderful woman by the name of Alicia Branham. She is a marketing and branding expert. She works specifically with small companies. We had a fascinating conversation, not only about the mechanics of marketing strategy and all of the ways in which individuals now can do their own marketing and the need for a strategist to help you with all that marketing. But we also talked about the authentic quality that is so important in branding and marketing, whereby we may not always feel that we represent the picture that we're trying to present to other people. So how do we bridge that gap? Do we need to bridge that gap? And can we simply be authentic in the way we really are as part of our brand? So again, Alicia Branham is a distinguished marketing expert and creative visionary, driven by a profound passion for making a meaningful difference in both businesses and in people's lives. With a rich career spanning over 25 years, Alicia has carved a niche for herself as a creative and marketing director, specifically within the commercial industry. Her unique blend of expertise and background has been likened to the secret sauce essential for any business seeking to transformative growth. Dedicated to evaluating and elevating businesses to unparalleled heights, Alicia leverages her vast knowledge and insights to empower her clients. Under her guidance, businesses not only have been able to capture great growth, but also have achieved prestigious accolades, from gracing the covers of leading magazines to clinching the coveted Rep of the Year awards in their respective domains. Alicia Branham on the Leadovation podcast. Alicia.
Hello, Dean.
It's great to have you on the show. We've been giggling like 2 little kids prior to this interview, so I thought, let's stop doing this conversation and record it. Marketing, small business owners, most of them don't have a budget. Most of them are out there cleaning toilets, kicking babies, and doing everything in between to be able to keep their business running and growing and scaling. They sometimes conflate marketing with sales. All of those things are true. We talk about marketing from a company perspective, but also marketing from a personal brand perspective. All of this stuff I think we're going to get into, and I know you're very good at. I want to talk about authenticity to start. In the idea that a brand, whether it be a company or a person, is presenting a particular type of persona to our clients and to the world. What if we don't feel like it? What if we're having a bad day? What if we don't believe in our own marketing because we feel like crap? We're having our own depression. We're having our own issues. And there feels like a huge chasm between what we say we are to our public and our clients and the world and how we feel. How common is that? And what the hell do we do? There's my opening question to get us started.
Sure. So I will tell you that everyone who owns a business, regardless of what you do, we all have that human element to us, right? That can tend to keep or distract us from what's going on in our business or whatever. So one is consistency. I will tell you, regardless of what you do for a living, pick a platform that's going to work for you and just be consistent on that platform. Don't give up if you don't get the kind of views, because what the algorithm is looking for is they're just looking for you to be consistent in your posting and your messaging, right? They're just looking for that consistency for you, and that your community that you try to build on these social media platforms is looking for that consistency from you. And so even if you're having to do the menial tasks inside of your business to keep things afloat, you should always really care about continue to marketing your business, because people are not going to find you unless you put your name out there. There are plenty of free resources that you can use as a business owner, places like canva.com that help you make really great social media graphics for a very inexpensive amount of money. If you can't afford a marketing person on your team, because I understand that when a lot of us start our small businesses and we grow to other things, right? We just want to look good, and we may not have the skill set or the monies or the resources to afford a professional company, right? And so, we're lucky that there are resources out there like Canva and other, like, even if you were to make reels on Instagram, they give you resources right there in Instagram to make pretty looking videos. Same thing with TikTok, right? Like, a lot of these places, stuff is built in place. You just have to put the effort in and the energies in. And even if it's you're like, man, I don't have space for marketing my business. I don't want to pay anybody to do it. I'm going to just do this myself and be dedicated. And then if that's really your stance, then also, allocate a certain time of your week. Once a week, you're going to spend an hour working on marketing and messaging for your business and creating and making all your reels and your content, and then be done with it. So you can develop that consistency. And that way your load is a lot easier to handle, because you're not just swimming from thing to thing, and you've kind of made a plan for what your messaging is going to be for the month. And you've now allocated time on your calendar to do it. And you're using the free resources out there to do it. Like, even if there's so many free resources that even if you create your own content, Facebook and Instagram let you schedule in advance. So you can literally schedule your posts in advance to go. You don't have to be dropping every second, every day and being on your phone. And so you don't know how to do that right, there are plenty of resources that can help you out there, but there are plenty of ways to keep your messaging up, still be motivated, and realize that it's a part of our society today, is that you need to pick a platform where you're going to be, and you need to be consistent on it, even if it bums you out, if you don't get any engagement. Maybe you just have to audit.
That's great. I do see that almost like marketing with AI is becoming easier for small business owners. To your point, there's so many resources out there we didn't have before. I mean, even just yesterday, I was doing a PowerPoint presentation and I was like, I don't really like this particular stock image that they had in the PowerPoint choices. And so I went to a particular form of ChatGPT and set up a prompt and asked it to create an image, and it did so beautifully. And I used that. So we have a lot more resources that way.
So you brought up ChatGPT and image creation,
Correct.
right? So I also, as a business owner, if you're racking your brain about what to even talk about on social media or your conversation, go to ChatGPT. Don't be cheap. Pay the $20 for the version, okay? Pay the money for their version. They'll never lock you out, okay? And literally ask it, hi, I run a landscaping business in South Florida. The kind of services I want to provide are this. The type of clients I want to get are this. Create 12 months of social media content strategy for me. And that baby will spit that out for you.
Yes. So to your point, that ChatGPT almost can create a process for our marketing on a small business level. Do we need marketing professionals if we can do it ourselves?
Sometimes you actually do, because if you don't have, put it this way, if marketing isn't your jam, and say like you're a manufacturer and you make snowboards, are you, as the president of the company that has grown to umpteenth degree, going to be worried about the marketing at your business, or are you going to hire a professional to do that for you? Just say that out. It's the truth. So at some point, you have to grow as a business owner, and you have to relinquish things inside your business that even though you could do it yourself, is it really worth it for you to do it yourself? Because your money and your time could be better spent going and landing a new $500,000 client a year and letting your junior person do that work for you instead.
100%. And so to that point, though, I also think that there's something to be said for the fact, I use this analogy a lot, that just because I'm a good eater doesn't mean I'm a great chef. And so in the analogy of marketing, I might be able to go out and do some grocery shopping and get ChatGPT to help me, but I am not the expert in marketing, unless of course I am, but let's assume that I'm not. What we did in our company, because we're smart, we can figure stuff out, right? We're not dumb. However, we thought what we lack is a strategist. We need somebody to create a strategy that is going to align our marketing to our sales goals and our business growth goals. So we hired a firm to help us do that. We've been working with them for over a year. We're very pleased with that. What we're hiring for is their expertise, for their strategy. And yes, they do block and tackle work for us, which we're happy with. But I think that to your point, hiring somebody to do marketing is a better spend because you can be doing things that you should be doing. And tell me if I'm wrong, I think that it's important to get that strategic expert on your team that helps you connect the dots and align this marketing to your sales goals, your growth goals, so that you're not spinning your wheels and spending a bunch of money on stuff that you shouldn't be. Thoughts?
100%, Dean, 100%. And that's why, like, in my firm, I do help a lot of small business owners, from doctors to dentists to, counter people, right? Like, marble people to construction people. But I have a special niche with PVF, pipes, valves, and fittings, because I held a position where I had to really understand that industry and understand how that ran. And so I understand all of my clients' pain points, what they go through, how they make their money, because I work in a business to business lane with those folks. But because I'm so well versed in their lane and what they're doing, I am the natural choice to come to for this type of work, because there's no explaining and trying to get me to understand their industry, because I've been in it for 15 years and I really understand it. And so even if you're going to trying to look for assistance for you, there are plenty agencies like mine that like to niche down in specific industries to help you, whether it's mental health, or it's the medical field, chiropractors. Like, there are plenty of agencies, I'm sure, like mine, that niche down to a specific space, and they have that knowledge to be able to help you and see how you are. And even if you can't find someone in your space, then find an agency that's eager to get to know you, eager to get to know your business and what you really need, so they can help to develop that strategy for you and can run with you.
Following the idea of developing that strategy, you're in a meeting with the owners of a small business. It's your first interaction with them on helping them develop a marketing strategy. What are the first few things that you do with them that eventually lead to that strategy? i.e., what's the process to get that ball rolling? What does it look like?
Sure. When I talk to somebody new, especially, I'm going to do a lot more listening than I'm going to do talking. And so I really need to listen to, what's going on inside that organization, where they find they might have holes inside of either their team or their forward-facing documents, or whatever their forward-facing images to the public, wherever. I want to see where their pain points are first, and then I can offer solutions based on what my company can provide. And so the real goal is because I'm so versed in what I do, I try to hit it on the mark the first time. Most of my clients don't have time to go through a bunch of guessing or 55 iterations of something. They want someone who's going to hit things on the head for them pretty quickly. They don't want to hold my hand either. They really want someone who's just doing it. Like, they just want someone that's just managing it that way. Does that make sense? So I really try to get to know. So I try to get to know who they are. I try to hear what they're looking for. And then I'm going to develop a plan based on not just their needs, but what their budget allows for. And then finding out what are their biggest priorities. And then, coming up with a plan to tackle all those within a specific time frame whenever their budget allows, even if it's, okay, great, we've got this one item, but our budget won't allow for us to handle that for another year, because it could be like we need a more robust website that involves a massive overhaul and a customer section. That's like a very expensive item that someone might not be able to afford that year, but they need assistance with that. So I try to help them lay out that strategy to tackle all those things. And then whatever my team can do to do that, as we handle that for them. Does that make sense?
So you're almost like you're like a virtual or fractional CMO, chief marketing office, that would sort of come into a role that is not currently there and almost become an extension of the company, operate as a chief marketing officer, even though you're an external agency.
Correct. A lot of folks can't afford to have a full-time marketing person or a chief marketing officer or marketing director or any of those titles. They're more interested in sales. They're not interested in the creative side. And I'm interested in the creative marketing side of any business. So, whether you make a product or you provide a service, irregardless of what you do, everything that you have is forward facing to the public, and anyone in any part of the world within 5 seconds can look you up on their phone and see what you look like and see what your business does. And you should at least hear the minimum of what you look like, even if you're a small business owner, even if you're a solopreneur. No one has to know how big you are. If the visual impression of your agency or your business shows that you're professional, you're polished, and you're present, says a lot about you.
All right, so let me go back to the question that I think because of an internet glitch you couldn't hear. So let me try to repeat that and see if we can address it. The question really was, what if I don't feel authentically connected to my brand? Like my brand to the world, to our clients is X. I'm not feeling that way. I've got some issues going on in my personal life. There seems to be a gap. Some would say, just fake it till you make it, smile, dress well, and, try to get through the day. But I mean, how prevalent is it that people don't always feel aligned to their brand? And what have you heard? And how are people trying to bridge that gap?
So that's a very common feeling for folks to have. Like, even sometimes I don't feel connected to my own content, or sometimes I wonder, like, why am I doing all this? And I just think that's just a normal feeling for folks to have. But I will tell you this: it is okay to go in a direction and realize it doesn't fit you, and maybe it doesn't align with you anymore. And it's completely fine to switch. It's completely fine to pick up and switch chairs and move. It is 100% okay to do that. Just because you're trying something and maybe it's not resonating with you anymore, you have to learn to let it go. No, it's not a failure, and it's just part of that growth of your business and your journey. Because we, as entrepreneurs, we try different lanes and different things and think this is going to work, or maybe this is the voice I need to have. And the reality is sometimes it just doesn't work for us. It's not resonating with it's not resonating with us. And that's okay. It's 100% okay to pivot and change. You don't have to be stuck in something that you've put yourself in. Even if someone says this is a lane you need to be in, like, I don't feel that, man. So then, it's okay to take a pause or really sit down and decide what you want that to be, what aligns more with you now. Maybe what aligned with you 6 months ago doesn't align with you today. That happens to me every 3 months to today, like in 24 hours. So it's completely normal, fine to feel that way. And it's not okay. You case in point, how many times do you see the big box advertisers changing the messaging on the regular? Why are we any different? Just saying, it's completely normal and fine.
Well, I think that your point is well taken, that our marketing strategy and message can pivot many times, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I would say absolutely 100% on that. I guess we were having this conversation before we hit the record button around, some of us are going through some mental health challenges. We are maybe more fearful and depressed as a society than we have been in recent memory. COVID was a got to a lot of us, and the speed of change is so fast, it's hard to take all this stuff in. And heck, I was just talking to this absolutely wonderful person before this podcast, and he basically admitted, I'm very depressed. I need a therapist. I need to get my stuff handled. And yet he's a leader of this large organization, and he has a quote unquote brand. that he needs to uphold in order to be consistent and to share the message he needs to share. So I guess I wanted to get your reaction to this sometimes disconnect between the brand that we're trying to share and the reality that we actually feel.
Sure.
What are your thoughts
Um,
on that?
well, here it is. As a leader of any organization, even if you're a solopreneur, you have to have a certain mindset and you have to have a certain way of being to get your employees to respect you, right? And at the end of the day, too, you have to be that leader. So what happens, I think there's a generation of people in general, right, that have a difficult time communicating their wants and needs, or maybe even taking care of their own personal needs. And so a lot of these big big CEOs of companies, even smaller CEOs, find themselves burnt out because they're not really, a lot of us haven't been raised to take care of ourselves. And what I mean by that is like, it's more than just getting up and taking a shower and making sure you don't smell during the day, right? Like it's a little bit more than that now, about making sure that, your mind is set, your body is set, that you're not, I think a lot of folks that suffer in the mental health space, which is completely normal. I think that as a society, we've all been shamed to hide the things that might bother us. And in our society, honestly, people are tired of people being fake. People are tired of people being disingenuous about who they are. And I think that inside of my own organization, for instance, I will be candid with my team if I'm not, hey, I'm really stressed out this week. We've got a lot of these things going on. It's really, I had a call with one of my team members before we got on this call, as I'm having a problem with one of our staff. And I had to explain to her why. And she's like, ooh, that's not a great team member, right? I'm like, no, it's not. And it's been stressing me out. And I realized too that, I don't know if this will help any of your listeners, but us people at the top, and we're expected to behave and act a certain way, and we don't feel we can be human. And we have these human feelings of rejection or anger or frustration with the teams that we work with. And we don't know why. We take things way too personally in a business space. And you're like, freak is my problem. I think a lot of us maybe bring our childhood trauma and any traumatic experience or difficult, part of your life, your mind and your body tend to want to protect you. And so when you've gone through certain things in your younger years, or, growing up, or maybe a bad relationship that just tortured the living crap out of you, you kind of, your mind's got this way of it's going to protect you. And, sometimes you're having a reaction to something. You're just like, what the frick is my problem? Because it shouldn't be that big of a reaction. And I've had to learn that, and it was pointed out to me that I was bringing my past and my trauma filled, upbringing in reactions into my business. And that I was making decisions when I was in a heightened state of anxiety that were not the best decisions for me as a business owner and for me as a human being. Right. And so sometimes we will make decisions, and when we're not in the best of places, and so it's always better to take a pause. That's what I do. I just take 5 steps back. And that's my new motto. Something's bothering me, something's upsetting me with a team member or something, I don't react right away. I put it on the back burner. I give myself some breathing room, some boundaries. I've learned to put up boundaries in my personal and professional life, right? Something that some of us may not know how to do. CEOs that don't put up boundaries, maybe that's why they're so burnt out and feeling like they hate their business, because they're letting their team run all over them because they haven't put up boundaries, because you don't know how to put up boundaries, because you never put it up in your personal life. So why would you put it in your business? Because you didn't realize you needed to do that too. It's all this little cyclical thing. And so I feel that I'm a stronger leader because I can be aware of what triggers me and what brings me down and what makes me less than as a leader, and to strive to be better every day and to give myself that grace, knowing that it's not always going to be easy. Building a business is hard, period. Dealing with employees, staff, and clients, it's never an easy task. It's never going to be easy. It's a daily process forever. It's not a set it, forget it environment. So if you're trying to build a business, just know there is some level from you, or you need to hire someone to be that you so you can walk away and go play golf all day and vacation. So,
Alicia, I've interviewed a fair amount of people who have come to this show around this topic of branding, marketing, sales, but mostly branding and marketing. I think you're the first one that brought up this topic around that disconnect sometimes that we feel between what we are really going on in our lives and the brand that we're trying to sell, and that disconnect. and maybe feeling like a charlatan. I'm not really what I'm saying that I am. What I'm also sort of sensing and hearing from you is that our authenticness is actually can be a part of our brand, that
Yes.
we can be a certain amount vulnerable and sharing some of the things that are going on in appropriate ways that would endear us to our clients and to our employees because we are appearing to be an authentic, real, vulnerable human being. And I had a stint in my life when I was much, much younger in theater, and I was always fascinated by the fact that in theater, unlike in film, you're not directing where people look. If you're in film, the camera is telling you what to look at. But when you're sitting in an audience of 100 or 5,000 people, you can go and look at what you ever want to look at on stage. No one's
That's
telling
right.
you to look at this actor versus this actor. But what I found is that people looked at the actors who were most authentic, who were most real, and those who were not, we didn't pay attention to as much. It was almost like a subconscious thing. And so I think that's the same way with marketing. Tell me if I'm wrong, is that we pay attention to those people who are authentic. I mean, why do we see so many gosh darn dogs and cats and babies on TikTok?
It's
Because they're
clickbait.
authentic. Yeah, they are authentic, they're real, they're in the moment, and we love seeing present moment authentic people and beings experiencing life. When there's a bunch of phoniness and technique, we get bored, we move on. And it seems like marketing is an extension of that. It shares those same principles.
It's true. Right now, what's very powerful is people showing up as their authentic selves. I'll tell you a crazy story. I recently completed this program with Goldman Sachs. They have a program called 10,000 Small Businesses. And what they do is they give you like a mini MBA training around the country. And so I was very fortunate to get chosen and approved. So I actually got to hear the president of our local Goldman Sachs offices. So someone who's really high up and in charge of international and all these things get up in front of someone who's like former military, right? Like 20 years in the military, a captain, all these amazing things, talking about his own human condition. Do you hear me? This is someone who makes our salaries look like a pittance, right? And he's up there being honest and real with all of us entrepreneurs and business owners here in the Salt Lake Valley. He was honest and real. His journey, how he got there, how he had to change his thinking, because when he got into the Goldman Sachs space, it's different than being in the military. And the military is a way of doing things, and the people do the thing, and la 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 la, right? And when you're there, it's different. And so it was very interesting to hear a man of his stature with such a background being so human and vulnerable and honest in front of us. And so if someone at that level feels that way, you're just normal, my friend. We're all just normal feeling this way. The truth. And that guy has to build his brain.
So was that speech? And how long ago did you hear this person?
June 13th,
June
2024.
And you're still talking about it today. Yeah, still talking about it. So it obviously made an impression on you. Yeah, there was another quick story that I can recall that there's a CEO that we worked with. What's that?
The bigwig talking like that. I was very impressed.
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, to your point, we had another experience where the CEO of one of our clients up in Minneapolis, a guy named Brian Murray, he did a TED Talk on this thing as well, but he stood up in front of his entire team. I was there with him, and he was telling about his depression. He had, I don't know, 45, 50 senior leaders across the country listening to their CEO talk about depression and mental health. And because he was so vulnerable, he was able to, they have a kind of a much more open and acceptable culture around talking about and supporting people through mental health challenge. It's no longer a stigma, and I thought that was such a strong show of leadership to be able to do that. And then, of course, the afternoon, he ended up becoming really forceful on certain points that he had. So in the moment of 8 hours, we saw this guy near tears to being very strong and forceful all one person, which was, he represents both of those extremes all in one day. And I thought this is one of the best examples of leadership I've ever seen. So your points, your point's well taken around this idea that authenticity reads, we need to make it part of our brand. We need to make it part of our process. And I love the way that you've been able to support small businesses through all this. Could you share some of the things that you're doing and are doing and how people can connect with you if they so desire?
Sure. So I help small businesses really crush their space. And even though I do work in that plumbing PVF space, I help all kinds of small businesses. So whether you're trying to build your brand, refine what that brand is for you, for instance, even if it's your personal brand and trying to develop that to, any type of creative work that you would need, branding, logo, forward facing documents, sales decks, website, 3D modeling service, all those crazy things. We like to be an extension of businesses. So I like to be your virtual marketing department. So you're never alone if someone were to call you and go, hey, listen, so-and-so's coming in town next week. Do you think you could put together an agency presentation, blah, blah, blah. I don't let my people hang dry because I know me and my team are nothing but overhead. So my business is brand marketing. My website is getbrand.com, getbrn.com, because my last name is Branham and brand is good for you, just like me. So because I really I really care about my clients and I care about your success. So you could also find me on Instagram, on The Real Alicia Branham, on LinkedIn, I'm Alicia Branham. Also, if you like to read things, I have a monthly column in an industry magazine called Supply House Times. It's a marketing column, and so it's called Marketing Matters. And so if you're ever interested in learning, there's all these articles I produce every month for that particular publication. And I'm really active in the circles that I run, and I really love to be able to serve anyone in your community. Even if you have a question, you want to ask my advice on something, I'm here to serve. Because if you give back to this world, it gives back to you. You can't just be a taker. You've got to give. You've got to help other people grow and crush because they won't forget what you did to help them.
Well said. And I hear that you might start your own podcast.
I might start my own podcast. It's true. It'd be called The Real Talk with Alicia Branham. So that's something that's probably going to start this. So, and I'll make sure to have you on my show, Dean.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Well, Alicia, it's been great to talk to you. There's only about 100 days left before we can start skiing again. So let's count the days down. I know you live in beautiful Salt Lake City, and you're a skier like I am. So I know that you're looking forward to that as well. But yeah, just fantastic ideas. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me as a guest. I appreciate y'all very much. So.
Thank you for listening to Leadervation with Dean Newlund. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to learn more about Dean or Mission Facilitators Leadership, go to mfileadership.com. That's mfileadership.com, or check the show notes. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. Transform your leadership success with Leadervation.